Did the prophet Enoch, Hanuk, have a vision concerning Jacob, the children of YaSHAR'AL in Egypt, and the Exodus? Would not Yahweh Alahai, our Alua, who knows the end from the very beginning, not reveal the hidden things to his servants concerning the future? Let's go to the book of Enoch, Hanuk, section 16, Visions of Enoch, chapter 89, all encrypted and shown to him in the form of a parable. Now reading. But that bull which was born from him begat a black wild boar and a white sheep. And this wild boar begat many boars, but that sheep produced 12 sheep. 13. And when these 12 sheep had grown, they gave one of them to the asses, and these asses then gave that sheep to the wolves, and that sheep grew up among the wolves. 14. And Yahweh brought the 11 sheep to live with it, and to pasture with it among the wolves, and they increased and became many herds of sheep. 15. And the wolves began to fear and oppressed them till they, the wolves, finally destroyed the sheep's, young, and threw their young into a stream of much water. But these sheep began to cry aloud on account of their young before Yahweh. 16. And a sheep which had been saved from the wolves fled and escaped to the wild asses. And I saw the sheep as they lamented and cried, and asked their Alahai Alua with all their power, till that Alahai of the sheep descended at the voice of the sheep from his high abode, and came and looked after them. 17. And he called to that sheep which had escaped from the wolves, and spoke with it concerning the wolves, that it should counsel them not to touch the sheep. 18. And that sheep went to the wolves by the voice of Yahweh, and another sheep met that sheep, and went with it, and these two came together to the abode of those wolves, and spoke with them, and admonished them that henceforth they should not touch the sheep. 19. And then I saw the wolves, and how they exceedingly oppressed the sheep with all their power, and the sheep cried aloud. 20. And their Alahai Alua came to the sheep, and began to beat those wolves, and the wolves began to lament, but the sheep became quiet, and from then on did not cry. 21. And I saw the sheep till they had gone away from the wolves, and the wolves were blinded as to their eyes, and those wolves went out that they might follow the sheep with all their power. 22. And Yahweh Alahai of the sheep went with them, leading them, and all the sheep followed him, and his face was shining, and this appearance terrible and sublime. 23. But the wolves commenced to follow those sheep till they reached them in a sea of water. 24. And this sea of water was divided, and the water stood from this side and from that before their faces, and their Alahai Alua leading them stood also between them and the wolves. 25. And as those wolves did not yet see the sheep, they went into the middle of the sea of water, and the wolves followed the sheep, and ran after them into the sea of water. 26. And when they saw Yahweh Alahai of the sheep, they turned that they might flee from before his face. But this sea of water gathered itself together, suddenly took again its own character, and the water swelled and rose till it covered those wolves. 27. And I saw till all the wolves which had followed those sheep were destroyed and sank down. 28. But the sheep escaped from that water and went into the desert, where there was no water and no grass, and they began to open their eyes and to see. And I saw Alahai Alua of the sheep pasturing them, and giving them water and grass, and that former sheep going and leading them. 29. And this sheep ascended to the height of a high rock, and Alahai Alua of the sheep sent it to them. 30. And after that I saw Alahai Alua of the sheep as he stood before them, and his appearance was terrible and powerful, and all those sheep saw him, and were afraid before his face. 31. And they were all afraid, and trembled before him, and cried after that sheep which was with him to the other sheep which was among them, We are not able to exist before our Alahai Alua, or to look at him. 32. And that sheep which led them returned, and ascended to the height of that rock, but the sheep began to be blinded as to their eyes, and erred from the path which it had showed to them, but this sheep did not know it. 33. And Alahai Alua of the sheep was enraged over them greatly, and that sheep discovered it, and descended from the height of the rock, and came to the sheep, and found the greater part of them blinded as to their eyes, and erring from his path. 34. And as they saw it, they feared and trembled before its face, and desired to return to their folds. 35. And that sheep took other sheep with it, and came to those erring sheep, and then it began to kill them, and the sheep feared its countenance, and thus that sheep brought back those erring sheep, and they returned to their folds.